All right, Mike and Jim.
Okay, hi everybody. We have a OSvC data integration with Unity3D. And Unity3D is a 3D environment for developing games, presentations, VR applications, and so on. This is a screenshot from their website. We just use the personal edition. So the idea and technique, we deserialized a JSON payload from the REST API, developed it in C#, and the application displays answers, and it also takes the solution from those answers and affects the environment that is displayed within the application. Our original idea was to build it out for the Gear VR, the Oculus system. I tried that this morning and ran out of time, so that would have been cool to try. But here, let's go with the technical demo. So here's the environment right here. Not sure how fast it's going to run on the Wi-Fi here. But here we have a 3D environment. The terrain is just a bump map that I dropped in. It just creates a really quick environment. I smoothed out some of the terrain there, and then these jaggies over here are just raw height map data. But here you can see the answer, title, question, and answer from CX. And over here we've got a different answer that's being pulled in. That the answer is the color red. So it's using the answer text, OOFF, to apply that color to the 3D text here. And then there's a little particle system that's kind of sprouting off of the top there that's kind of hard to see in the sunlight. But yeah, there's a first-person character controller that the inputs we have is just the movement here, so we can kind of cruise around the area, and you can actually see, come behind the text and so on, and jump. It's just a basic there's a little spinny cube. Yeah, and then this is a view to the environment here with all of our different objects that we used. And here's just our answers that we added, like the color demo. It's just a simple little answer. This is not really relevant to the demo, but it's pulling this data in through the REST API that we created on my test site. Anything else to?
One of the challenges we had was we wanted to do it in JavaScript rather than C#. And what we discovered is Unity JavaScript is not JavaScript. It's different, so it didn't have the JSON embedded with it. So that led us to go to C#, and we had to find a JSON processor as a Unity plugin. So that consumed some time. And once we got that working, then we realized we could apply the answers. If you wanted, you could make an answer in a JSON string, and then
products. Sony is one. Disney Interactive. That's an old customer. I'm not sure if they're.
How do you define where so number one, all the questions that you have in the database show up in the particular room?
Yep. For the demo, we just have individual static answers. We're just referring to one answer and then another answer over here to display these two little demos.
And then how do you do the location within the environment? Is this a special XYZ?
Yep. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
If I'm playing like Legends of Zelda, I can walk into the cave of answers and I can
Yes.
find my answer.
Yeah. If I double click on this answer demo right here, that's the answer demo text that's pulling in from Oracle, and you can move it around like that.
Well, and you could actually make your answer be a JSON string that would include X, Y, and Z coordinates in it. So that would be part of it. So that somebody in the game engine could grab your answer and then process it however they would like. You know, each of the objects in there have their own parameters such as X, Y, and Z.
So if you were to go and change one of those answers, would it dynamically show up in this room?
Yes. Yep. Okay.
I just think it's an interesting concept that we like to, it was answers that were sort of associated or chained together in some way, based on how you respond to a question. Maybe questions in correlation with answers, map those out together and you sort of go through like a self-guided tour of getting your help question answered.
Yeah, it opens the door on a lot of things because you could attach an ID to an object, and then when you approach the object, it could trigger off a script that would get whatever was associated to it.
Right.
And you know, this leads into HoloLens type image recognition too. So if the HoloLens recognized something, you could have some mechanism inside of getting the ID and then kicking off a script to get an answer back. That's kind of some of the stuff that we talked about. But it really opens a whole world of external communication.
So that's since you could build a whole gaming system like this.
If you want to.
You could, yeah.
New Oracle division.
Yeah, I'm in. Yeah, you go to the wizard, you ask him a question, you can then based upon certain parameters, he gives you a question back or a mission to go do, and you go do that mission. And everything that you all get to is just great. Or that cost.
Definitely see like Free Realms and Sony wanting things like this because that's kind of what they ended up doing was in help with our product.
Yeah, the ability to deploy to VR, for example, is pretty simple in here. It actually came down to the internet speed in here this morning, downloading a whole bunch of stuff. I just didn't have the time, but you can deploy to Android, Xbox, TVs, all sorts of stuff. Any other questions?
Somebody had a chat there, question on chat. Chris Warren. Surprise, surprise.
Hey, Chris. Any other questions? Okay.
All right,
Thanks.
thanks.